So Seth Green had his bored monkey NFT stolen from him. It sounds like someone got a bunch of random words and letters and put them in a trilby hat and then just pulled them out. Went, hey, check it out. There's a goat and a lamb on top of a curry noodle soup chicken face. And also Seth Green had his bored NFT stolen. Bored monkey NFT. It's just so weird. I can't comprehend it. I can't really understand what it means or even what it's supposed to mean. I know it happened a couple of days ago and I might be a little late to it, but it invoked a response in me that I didn't really expect, and I want to talk about in this video. I don't want to talk about it because it's an excuse for me to talk about one of my favorite films ever made. It's definitely my favorite documentary ever made, and I think it's my second favorite film of all time. I absolutely love this film. So what this made me think of immediately, what my knee-jerk reaction to it was, with limited experience in NFTs. I know a thing or two, but I don't know much. But what this made me think of was the film Exit Through the Gift. What this made me think of was the film Exit Through the Gift Shop, which was a tremendous, incredible documentary made by Banksy in, I think, 2010. What the film circulated around was there's this guy, his name was Thierry, and he... I think he was related to someone. So let's start from the beginning. So there's Thierry, and he documented everything in his life. He documented on like these VHS tapes, and he goes through his boxes of like, I have this and this and this and this. Absolutely documented everything that happened in his life. Where Thierry went, the video camera went. So he became obsessed with street art and started obsessively filming street art. He loved it. He loved meeting all of these people, following them around, climbing all of these buildings, getting all of these shots. And he documented a lot of footage of street artists during the boom of street art, when it began to take off and when it really boomed and a lot of people got involved as well. Beyond that, he became so popular within the street art scene because he was doing this. He eventually got to meet the god of street art, Banksy. He got to meet him and work with him. He got to shoot Banksy as he was doing some of these things. Obviously, he couldn't reveal his identity or anything like that. But with a lot of the street art that he was making, he got to meet him. He got to go into like his sort of base, and see the inner workings of how Banksy worked. Then, over time, his obsession grew and grew and grew, and he eventually actually wanted to become a artist himself. He wanted to be an artist himself. And you think that it's going to be this beautiful journey of him becoming an artist, but he rips everyone off. His idea, Thierry's idea, is he calls himself Mr. Brainwash, and he takes other people's art and changes it and alters things and edits things. I think one of the most famous ones he did was there's the Pulp Fiction characters with the bananas, and of course he puts like monkeys' heads on it or something like that. He actually did a Madonna album cover. I think that was one of his biggest claims to fame. He also in the film put on this really cliche because it started to catch. People really got into it. He became an overnight sensation. So he held an exhibition and became like this egomaniac who was riding around on this Segway. I think it was a Segway or a scooter, just barging people around and telling people what to do and stuff like that. Eventually, he does become a huge success as Mr. Brainwash. Now, the reason this is one of my favorite films of all time is because no film has ever dug a hole in your head and forced you to ask questions nearly as much as this one. Because at the end, Banksy and all of these artists, they have this revelation where they say, well, look, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you. He is an artist. He is doing sort of what we do. It's not like, part of being art and part of all of this is expression and having no boundaries and sort of being able to represent yourself in any way you want to. And that's what he did. We feel ripped off, but, ultimately, what did he do that we don't do? Who's to tell him what to do and how to make his success? And yes, he made a bunch of money piggybacking off of the back of us, but what do we do? And it's just so many layers of questions, and there is no wrong and there is no right. And it really, what the beauty of the film is, it makes you question art in a way that I never have before. It makes you go, but what is it? How industrial is it? How much of a process of it? How, restricted is it? How freeing is it? And Thierry just sort of raises all of these questions by doing what he wants to do, but something that's sort of morally, objectable, something that you don't like, but you sort of have to accept. Why do NFTs remind me of this? Well, because NFTs, of course, are sort of, on a surface level, they're questionable, but they're, could you say that this is another Banksy situation where, like, yeah, we don't like them. Yeah, they seem morally objectable, but it's just people doing what we do. It's just people making art. Well, no, I don't think that. And this is why I don't like NFTs. Because the difference is, NFTs are a product. They're nothing more. The reason I love things like, Exit Through the Gift Shop, and I love analyzing Thierry's story, is because there are so many levels to it and there are so many questions to it. What he is doing is art, and it creates questions in the same way that Banksy's, Let Them Eat Cake piece creates questions, in the same way that all good representative art and expressionist art creates questions. That's the point of it. NFTs don't do that. The only question they raise is it art or not, which is not a question within art, it's a question about art. NFTs are a product, they're a transaction, and the reason for that is intention. Look, Thierry may have been ripping off a bunch of street artists, but if you dig up his work, if you read into the story of his work, yes, it's transformative of someone else's piece, but when you look at it, there's a story of obsession behind it. There's a story of, a man questioning art without meaning to. There's all of these questions buried deep within his art, enough to create this 1.5 hour long documentary, this beautiful documentary. Everything is buried deep within that. My issue with NFTs is that is not the case. It's someone who drew something with the sole intention of it being a product. The guy who drew the monkey, the bored ape, didn't draw that because they wanted to ask questions, or anything like that. They drew it because they wanted to sell it. Buying the first ever tweet as an NFT isn't art. There's nothing performative about it. You bought something. You bought something with the intention of selling on afterwards. It's no different to buying stock, and you can't call buying stock art. Personally, I think it's all about intention. Art is all about intention. What do you want to say? And I think that's what people get lost on a lot. I went to the Tate once and I saw a piece that was just a tear on a canvas, and nobody got it. No one around me got it, out of the group that I was with, but I understood. I sort of knew what it meant. I knew that it meant questioning art, as a lot of modern art does. This doesn't question anything. This is just someone creating something to be sold. And when you create something that is purely made to be sold, you're making a product, you're not creating art. Now, I know art is sold, and I know it's sold for a lot of money. But again, we circle back to, there is a reason the art was made beyond just as a sale. If you want to call an NFT art, then, we might as well call pictures of things on ads art. You might as well call the Nike tick art. No, it's a tick. It's used to sell something. It's a brand. It's branding. And I don't think NFTs, I don't feel anything when I look at NFTs, and it doesn't give me a sense of anything but pure cold apathy. And that's exactly how I felt when I read this story about Seth Green's NFT being stolen. I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I just felt completely cold. The only feeling I had was a disbelief, a questioning. What does this mean? I have no idea what any of this means. And the important thing about that is I didn't care about the answer. And I didn't want an answer. None of it mattered to me. Because to me, it was just a business transaction, and it's something that was just money that's gone. It's like someone stealing stock. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, Seth, but you bet on the wrong horse. And NFTs are dying out for a reason. because they're cold, they're soulless, and they're pretending to be something that they're not. And I feel the same way about cryptocurrency, although I'd like to save that for another video. Anyway, those are my 2 cents on it. It was really more of an excuse to talk about exits through the gift shop, but I did also want to give my opinion on NFTs. If you haven't seen the film, you absolutely have to go out and see this movie. It is incredible. It's funny, it's interesting, it's informative, asks questions. It's just an incredible film, man. Exit Through the Gift Shop, so good. And NFTs, so not good.